Hello, everybody. Today I am going to deliver a lecture on a topic which affects all of us Indians again and again. The problem refuses to go away. The topic for lecture today is regionalism. What is regionalism? I think most of us know. It is more of a negative concept in India than a positive concept. Regionalism is a problem which arises when you are more in love with your own region than your nation, than your country, than your state. If used negatively, it has the power to divide the people. It is a divisive force. It is narrow and it is parochial. We had 14 states. The number slowly rose, and Telangana being the 29th state, we have 29 states. And the problem doesn't end here. There are many regions which are asking for statehood, for more and more autonomy. I'll come back to that later. But first, we need to know the problem of regionalism in India. Well, there are three concepts which you should know. First is confederation. America was a confederation for some time, but it proved to be a failure. In a confederation, a state can leave the group of states, so the effort of the center is to keep all the states together. Only a few subjects are with the center. Next concept is federation. In a federation, the powers of the states are more or less equal to the center. America is a federation now. The states have their own constitution, but the constitution has to be parallel to the American Constitution. An American citizen is first a citizen of his state, and he's also an American citizen. So you have the concept of dual citizenship. In India, we have one constitution, and we all are citizens of India, and not of Punjab, Haryana, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, and so on and so forth. Why? Because the founding fathers of the Indian Constitution decided that India is a union of states. Now, there are people who say, or who said even at that time when the debates were going on, that India should be a federation of states. The state should have more powers. But the founding fathers said that no, India cannot afford to be a federation. It has to be a union, and an indestructible union. I think as children, you all must have opened a bottle of Coke after shaking it. It's a favorite pastime of children. When you shake a bottle of Coke or any drink, you open it and it goes flying all over the room. Oh, we had fun. Now, just to explain this concept, I gave you this example. India is made up of fissiparous elements. Fissiparous means you leave us and we can scatter. Now, you know the story of Sardar Patel, the Iron Man of India, who brought together the different princely states and gave us the map, what is now known as India. So, these leaders felt that if left like this, if more autonomy would be given to the states, till nationalism did not come into our hearts, well, India might not develop, because our effort, the government's effort, whichever party in power, their efforts would be to keep the union together. So we are very clear that India is a union of states where the powers are tilted in favor of the center, because that's what the founding fathers wanted. But yes, during peace times, we have a parallel government at the state level also. You have the governor, you have the chief minister, and you have two houses or one houses depending upon the population area of the state, so on and so forth. Now the states have been asking for more autonomy. They feel that the center is partial and is keeping powers away from the states. Now in this game, as I call it, both the sides, both the parties, both the teams are to be blamed, the center as well as the states, irrespective of the party in power. Now let's take up the good points first. Because the center has control over the money, it has more money, it can take loans from the outer agencies. That is why the center has to take the money and distribute it equally between the different states. It might have to give more money to a state which has been left behind. Now, dispersing money leads to a lot of problems. Now, there are some state governments or some parties at the state level which feel that when the center is controlled by an opposition party, due is not given to them. Now, this is where the problem starts. A problem of misunderstanding. The center gives money. It gives money on its own, thinking about how much each state would need or which state has been left behind. But the states feel that we are not being given our due. So, money and unequal distribution of money leads to problems. On the other hand, the states say that there are many factors by which we are being, besides money, we are being controlled by the center. They say the bureaucrats, the IAS officers are posted from the center. They draw their salary from the center, so the allegiance is more towards the center than to the states. The governor is appointed from the center, and they feel that he is a puppet in the hands, whoever is the governor is the puppet in the hands of the center. Now the center has, over a period of time, tried to iron out these differences with the different states. The states have asked for more autonomy, and the Sarkaria Commission was set up to look into the distribution of powers between the center and the states. Sarkaria Commission also gave this opinion that whatever power distribution is there between the center and the states, as in the constitution, is fine. But they suggested some recommendations. They suggested 247 recommendations, but till now only 91 have been considered. One of the main recommendation was regarding the office of the governor. Sarkaria Commission suggested that when a governor is to be appointed to any state, the chief minister of that state, especially if that state is being ruled by the opposition, the chief minister of that state should be consulted. And a person who has contributed a lot in any field should be appointed as the governor, and not a very active politician or a retired politician. So the office of the governor has been dealt with, and more or less the states are happy now. Why has regionalism spurt up? Why is there a spurt in regionalism? Let's take the example of the northeastern states. Any political party, I'm not naming any political party, all political parties these days, when elections come in, it has to be a win-win situation for them. I'll just give you a simple mathematical formula. Suppose a party at the center has to give 100 crores to a state or to states, where would it opt? If I give you the option, if they are given an option, the northeastern states, which are known as the Seven Sisters, sends one MP each to the parliament, right? UP, Bihar, these states boast of many seats. Bigger states, more seats in the Lok Sabha. Now, if the government decides to give 100 crores to the northeastern states, which are backward, which need the money, after investing 100 crores, how many seats will they win? Even if they win all of them? 7, right? But if that money is invested in Bihar or UP, the bigger states, which have more seats, anything more than 7, where will it be more profitable? In a bigger state where they will win more than 7 seats, because these states have got 30, 35, 50, 60 seats in the Lok Sabha. So isn't it more beneficial for a party to invest it in a bigger state? So that is where the vote bank comes in, and where certain states are left behind because it is a game of numbers. Regionalism is detrimental to the growth of the nation. And it's both sides that this problem persists. Article 356, for example, failure of constitutional machinery in the states. The states feel that Article 356 is the most dangerous article. Why? Because as soon as the governor sends a report to the center that there is failure of constitutional machinery in the state, even if there is not a failure, the next thing is Article 356 is applied on the state. The House is dissolved, the Assembly is dissolved, and what do you have? You have the President's rule, where everything is controlled by the center. So somebody had asked Dr. Ambedkar that Dr. Ambedkar had said that, I quote, "This article should remain a dead letter." So if somebody asked him during the arguments that if it is such a dangerous article, why put it in the Indian Constitution? Now Dr. Ambedkar gave the same answer which I told you, that India is made up of vociferous elements and we need it to keep, but it should be sparsely used only in extreme emergencies. But the states feel that it is a sword hanging on their head all the time, especially when the party at the center is another one and the party at the state is another one. So regionalism can be brought to a halt if the center plays a very positive role. Now coming to the state level, it is not that the state governments within their state are playing a very neutral or a positive role. We have so many examples, unfortunately, of people within a state who are asking for statehood. They feel that staying within a state, they are being neglected. So you have the example of Kurg, you have the example of Madu in Rajasthan, the people want a separate statehood. You have the example of Cooch Behar in Assam, they want a separate state. You have Mithilanchal, you have Purvanchal. There are so many regions within a state which is asking for statehood. Let's take the example of Kurg, for example. Kurg is an area which is rich in dry fruits. Now, the people over there have reached a conclusion that they are paying the price of cost of development of the state. They say that we are giving revenue to the state because of all the produce, but that money is not being spent in Kurg, but it is being spent in the state. So they say we'll benefit if we become a separate state because our money will remain with us and our development, we will work on our own development. We have the example of UP. Uttarakhand was bifurcated, made into a state from UP. Look at Uttarakhand now. They are earning a lot of revenue by propagating themselves as a tourist destination. So till it was a part of UP, the people say we were neglected because the money would come to Lucknow, it would be spread there, and the benefits would not reach areas which at the present day Uttarakhand. Now, since it has become a separate state, well, they say we have taken to tourism in a big way and we are earning revenue. So regionalism has to be curbed, and for that decentralization is the answer, not centralization. Centralization not at the center, centralization not at the state capital. As Mahatma Gandhi thought about it or talked about it, politics should be from the village to the district level, to the state, and then to the center, and not vice versa, which is happening right now. So the governments at the state capital and at the center don't know the problems of the people at the grassroots. The local people are able to better manage the problems better because they've grown there. They know where they need a road, where they need a hospital, which is a fertile land, which is not to be tampered, where there is no land and you can have a factory. When it is decided by the upper authorities, well, that is where the gap comes in and the problem of regionalism starts. So regionalism is also because of some articles being misused. We have many states talking about deleting Article 370, which gives special status to Jammu Kashmir. Now, that doesn't make the people of Jammu Kashmir very happy because they say Article 370 is there in the Indian Constitution and we have to abide by that. The latest ruling by the Jammu Kashmir High Court also says today itself, today that is 12th October 2015, that this article, Article 370, cannot be deleted from the Indian Constitution. Now, these kind of arguments lead to a gap between the people of a state, people of 2 or 3 different states, and people between the state and the center. So, regionalism can be curbed when political parties play a very responsible role and the people play a very responsible role. The political parties are not to be blamed every time. We people also, we citizens of India also talk about region. And when we talk about region, we want that we should get more benefits vis-a-vis people of another region. When we become vocal about our region, the people of the neighboring region also become vocal that yes, it is a politics of snatch. If we don't speak, if we don't snatch, the benefits will go to the other region. So because of all these factors, regionalism in India refuses to die. And the process becomes all the more dangerous when political parties recognize this weakness of the people, come to know that people can be divided on the basis of region, start dividing them, and it becomes a vote bank. On the other hand, the people are used by the local leaders. A local leader knows that I cannot emerge as a chief ministerial candidate in the state which is made up of different regions. But he can very well, with the kind of support he has in that region, become a small-time politician or at least the chief minister of a state if that region becomes a state. So he or she starts drumming up the fact that the region is backward, it needs to have its own statehood, and the process starts. So the net result is that the problem of regionalism becomes more aggressive, more violent. So the answer to stopping regionalism is that we should not have lopsided development of any region. the center has to play a very responsible role by dispersing money in a very responsible way, by actually seeing that money should go to a state, and even within that state, to a region which is actually backward, which actually needs schools, colleges, hospitals, good roads, because that's what the people of that region want. Nobody talks about luxuries and talks about regionalism. The people who talk about regionalism are people who do not get education for their children, good education for their children in good schools. Because without education these days, you cannot think of your most fundamental right, that is right to life. People want hospitals, good medical facilities for their near and dear ones. They want good facilities for the farmers. People want industry. When you give these few things to the people of a region, the demand for regionalism will never arise, or if it has sprung up, it will soon die a slow death, because there will be no blackmailing. The people will know what is the truth, that the center or the state has cared for them and made them a developed region. Then the focus of the center should, or the state should, shift to the next region which is backward. But this is not a possibility. Why? Because the vote bank takes over. Every region becomes a vote bank, and this is what leads to further demand of regionalism. So another problem where we have is the river water disputes. Dispute, water is essential for everybody. Dispute between different states for water leads to regionalism. When the central government and the state governments, irrespective of the party in power, when they all play a responsible role and stop misusing articles like Article 356, stop taking sides and stop acting partial, then only regionalism can be put to a hold. Regionalism is the biggest bane of the Indian political system. It divides us, and it divides us horribly. We have violence, we have mobs, we have unruly groups, all on the basis of regionalism. When we stop thinking about our own region, when we stop talking about partisan politics, when we stop talking about narrow interests and look after each region as an integral part of the country, we have a country, we will have a country, India, where there will be no talk about regionalism, there will be no talk about a Jammu Kashmir or a Punjab or an Assam in the past, which wanted to move away from the Indian Union. No state can separate itself from the Indian Union. There was a demand from Punjab and Assam in the past, but after the Punjab Accord and the Assam Accord, the demand was put to an hold. It's finished now. Similarly, the government is pumping money into Jammu Kashmir. You give them employment, that's what the government feels. You give them employment, you give them the basic needs, make Jammu Kashmir, the backward areas, a hot spot for tourists, and the problem will finish. Why? Because the fruits of development are reaching to the remotest corner. When everybody has work, when everybody has basic needs, regionalism as a negative force will never rise up. Thank you.